this is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chad Mostyn and Cam Water.
For the first time here for season 3. Davis on pole, Vandergren in second. It's going to be sprint round action here tonight. Let's go racing here at Daytona. It was a good start there from Davis in comparison to Vandergren in behind. Cowan's absolutely bogged it up and already dropped out of the top 3 here as they come down towards turn 1 for the first time. There's biffing and barging between Gallen and Cowan. These guys are still going at it after last season. They survived for this time by though. Through turn 2 and 3 they come. Nice and clean, boys. Keep it up as they come up to...
I love riding. It's a real social thing. There's a great bond between riders.
Every weekend I look forward to getting out there. It's a freedom like no other.
Riding to work is a great way to start the day.
Shannons insure all types of road bikes, not just classics. They offer features riders really want. It's why they're one of Australia's leading motorcycle insurance providers.
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
Whatever you ride,
ride with Shannons.
Call 134646 for a quote.
Through turn 1, it was a horrible start from De Bono. He's absolutely bogged it up and gets eaten alive by Dixon and Gowans as they come on through. Through turn 1 they come, and they all spread out around in towards the first sector of the Silverstone circuit. They look all right at the moment. Okay, there's already been a car spun round. That's Jordan Ferguson offline.
Is green, green, green at Road Atlanta here as well. Faulkner did get away. De Bono is tucked in as well. Unfortunately, Houghton is on that outside line. De Bono does want to turn it to 2. He's got the job. De Bono's overtaken. Now can he get Ben Faulkner up through turns 2 and 3? They go round the right-hander, dropping down the hill. Faulkner's out in front. De Bono second. Houghton third. Ratcliffe in fourth. No real dramas going into turn 1.
We've always had a few cars. They're all special. The T-Bird.
Oh, that's mine.
The Combi for when we want to get away. The XR8.
It's going to be a classic.
They're all insured with Shannons,
We've also got Shannon's home and contents cover.
which helps protect our automotive collectibles, tools and memorabilia in the home and garage. If you're motoring enthusiasts like us, it's got to be
Shannon's.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
This is amazing. It was clash heads again. This is like Chad Mostyn and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down to the hill. Sam Noble wants to snip on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Bruce Tannock and Jamie Dyson just absolutely drove away from us. Hayden trying to go around the outside. This is where he could have just sent it up the inside, but he hasn't committed, which is fair enough. It's very scary out there, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's see if we can move on. Jumping Dobbs, just absolutely think about it. It's a really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Good evening, sim racing fans. Welcome back to SRWtv. Tonight we jump back into the world of open wheelers for round 2 of the Cooler Master Super Formula Championship. Almost got through that without ballsing it up. Tonight it's a 60-minute race at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, where the weather usually plays a part and looks like it's going to tonight. We also got the real F1 cars here this week, so this will also be round 14 of our F1 Shadow Series. It's Cowie, your average sim racer here. I'm together with Hamish Munro once again. He's on the mic and behind the cameras covering tonight's action. Well, we had a previous champion come in and blitz the field last week. Do you think he's going to have the weather now down, or are we going to see someone else step on the top step tonight, Hamish?
Well, Cowie, it's great to be back, obviously, in Belgium, back in Spa. And we are in a literal Spa this week, wet Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Phil Vella, though, I mean, yeah, he absolutely blitzed it last week at the Hungaro ring. He has got a couple of challenges out there tonight, though. Dylan De Bono is finally back in the field for the Super Formula Championship, as well as debuting Josh Houghton as well. We know that he is a quick boy. In quite a few cars. I mean, absolutely blitzed the field last night, the supercars in his first outing, so he could put down a real challenge for it. Of course, our old favourites, David Gallo, Daniel Byrne, Scotty Barton, and those alike. So it's going to be an interesting night of racing. We'll see who's going to be able to get the upper hand in the wet here tonight. We know that Gallo and Byrne struggle in wet weather from time to time, but you've never really seen, Phil have a run in the wet here in the series. So it'd be interesting to see how he does actually deal with it and how he goes in this wet weather. Could be up for grabs for anyone, Cowie. I mean, we know the weather gods can throw some curveballs for us, and I think we've got ourselves a real knuckleball here tonight, because it could go any which way.
One of the things the drivers are talking about out here is when you start to see rooster tails, that's when you start going for your wets. And I can see that already starting to appear, so most of these drivers probably still out on the dry tyres to get practice. Is it going to be full wet for quali, or are we going to see some brave, hardy souls try to go out on a cold slick on a wet quali?
I think if we're already seeing rooster tails, so I think majority of the field's going to be out there on wets once we start quali in a couple of minutes. There's already a couple of drivers out there on the wet tyres. If I was to put money on it, I think these boys should definitely be out there with their wets on already to help get their practice in. You've done laps in the dries right now. Track's getting wet. Your qualifying is likely going to be in the wet as well. I think it's going to be best practice for these drivers to actually be out there on the wet tyres at this point, even just to get 60 seconds worth of practice in on those tyres and in these conditions. It's only going to get wetter, so it might just be more beneficial for them to do that. But it will mean they'll have to get out. Well, at the forecast, I mean, we're 81% precipitation at the moment. I can't really.
Yeah, that's telling you it's probably gonna stay wet for the majority of quali, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I'll quickly look at the radar to see. I'll look at the session radar. That'll tell me. New forecast. So.
Look at that.
Yeah,
already. It's way too wet.
The qualifying's going to be roughly 22% precipitation. We're then probably going to get some rain throughout the race, and there will be a dip in the rain. I don't know if we'll have a completely dry track, though, for the race at any point. I think the track will remain wet for the majority of that running. It doesn't look like it's going to rain throughout the whole race, but I don't know if it's actually going to dry out in time by the checkered flag flying. So I think that's one thing we need to remember as well. So they'll want to try and get some practice in. I mean, the earlier they can get out in qualifying, the better, because their lap times will likely be faster before we get a lot of rain, before the track gets super wet. But it depends on how the track dynamic works and how it develops, of course, across the sessions. So it could be interesting, but this track will be really rubbered up for qualifying, Carrie. These guys have been out there in practice, setting rubber down. They now have to completely change their line around here, and it's almost impossible, especially through Eau Rouge and Radion, which is a one-line set of corners before the Kemmel Straight. So if you thought it was going to be chaotic, I think the percentage may have just gone up a little bit right now, Kelly, seeing as how wet it could be for us here tonight.
Look, I'm going to give the drivers credit that I'm sure that some of them saw Spa on the calendar this week and they've gone, okay, it's likely that it was going to be a wet race or there's going to be weather involved somehow, so they've done some practice. Well, quali starting now, it looks like it's wet, the rain's coming down. We're going to see that and see how these guys have worked out. Can they push and really fly a lap in this sort of weather?
Yep, we've already got a couple of chats in there as well. Jordan Ferguson in the chat saying JJ Endo Fan Club. Of course, Jack Anderson, so he's got his fans out there already, as well as Logical Sports out there giving the love to Gordon McCulloch and for Team VGA, as well as VGA Harrow out there giving the love to Gordon McCulloch as well. So we got the love for some of the drivers out there. If you haven't already, get into the chat. Let us know who you're watching and supporting here tonight on the broadcast. We'll try and give them some screen time at some point throughout the racing proceedings here tonight. We've got a regular normal round tonight, Carrie, so it means we can run through the entire 15 minutes of qualifying and then some. They're not going to get cut off once the 15 minutes is up. They will have a bit of leeway to finish their times as long as they start them. As there's already a car off in the background. I believe that was Brandon Grotch. So
Noble lost it. That one
yeah,
Rouge there as well. Radiant, so.
Caldwell's just spun around right in front of our cameras, so drivers already getting caught out, and that does not surprise me why. Brandon Grotch is out there on dry tyres at the moment. Houghton's out there on dry tyres as well. So some drivers maybe just forgetting to put the wets on at this point, and it's costing them right now because Wakefield's already he's out there on dries too, so it's going to be as there's already been a massive spin up the top of Radion with Sheafy and others up there, so it's already catching some drivers out. This could be a spicy one, Cowie. One person we will have to talk about, though, is a regular person of unable to race in the rain normally is Sam Katakazinos, and whether he can actually handle running in the rain tonight. The heavier this gets, the less likely he's actually going to survive the running of this race, unfortunately for him. Stefan McCann saying this is the funniest shit through Eau Rouge. Yeah, we just saw the top of the hill at Radion, and it's pretty laughable at the top of the hill, I won't lie. It'll be interesting how these drivers try and pull it off. But yeah, Sam's out there on track. We'll see how long he survives in this weather, or how long his PC survives, we'll say. And whether he can hold it together for this race. Hopefully he can. He needs some good points.
Good to see him and see his wet weather skills in action. Well, he's had some PC issues that have sort of made it a bit hard for him, but maybe like yourself, buddy, with a good upgrade, he can get right in the hunt here.
Well, I'll be honest, I had a little blink before, and I'm like, oh no, it's settled itself out now. I think it was just it was just let me know, hey, we're good. So, but I think we'll be okay for right now. Because last week, even when the whole field was spread out, it was blinking like all heck. Right now, we're looking pretty stable, so we're doing okay at the moment. We're just waiting for first times to come in here. Not everyone has actually said, as I mentioned it, Sam's having a bit of a blink issue for me. Why is he doing that right now?
It's going to be one of those things, man. I think tonight, look, we are going to see some names probably where they should be, either near the front or near the back. Because the weather is the great equaliser. And you can drive I suppose the most sensible way in the wet and still have a moment catch you out. I mean, it'll come down to the guys that are somehow able to save the car in that moment and live to fight another day. They're the ones that are going to have the best chance of being on the podium, because I think in this weather everyone's going to have at least one fairly fruity moment. As we have a look at Sam there sticking it left and right as he goes through the corner.
Well, one thing as well, as I might just turn some of my graphics down for the rain, so apologies. I may just quickly cover us up here with the thumbnail, because The dry does not really draw as much as what the wet does, and we're trialling some new things tonight, so I will just very quickly turn my settings down for the rain. That should fix us up for tonight.
Evening.
So, yeah, great to have Steph back out there with us once again.
Chat. Yeah. It is going to be awesome, Steph, and I reckon we just put a camera, you know, at Eau Rouge and just follow him going up the hill.
Yeah.
Or it might be better to get him coming over the top. And, we'll probably just watch him there all night tonight.
Probably could, to be honest with you. We probably could. I'm just trying to find where the wet weather settings are very, very quickly here. Medium. Alright, that should fix it for now.
Now, I suppose that the big thing we talk about is Phil Bella coming back last week to take out a victory in the pros for round 1. We're also got to think that his whole team, his DFR teammates, Darren Fahey and Jay Dixon, well, they hold the top 3 spots after round 1. So it's not just Bella coming back, it's the whole team that's just brought it up a notch as well. So be interesting to see if the Carlins boys can fight back. Also a few other teams out there that have joined and ready to take on the fight. So the weather, perfect way to shake it up, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
I agree, and I think what we're going to have to do, Cowie, is we are going to have to go back to our old way of you slaving off me, because it's not liking to share into Discord at the moment.
Enough funny?
Yep, so let's just go back to what we were doing before. Unfortunately, we were going to trial the double screen tonight, but we're just going to go back to our old way of Cowie slaving off me. And that should level us out, I do believe. Yep, that's put us down to a nice level once again. So it's unfortunate that the rain has to draw so much at that point, but that's fixed us up for the moment.
If I can follow what you're watching, then can you still go the dual screen if I stay on there?
Possibly. You could also just, I don't know.
I'll just play with the cameras myself and call what I see.
Yeah. As we've got times coming in now already. We've had Dylan DeBoto come in with a 230.74 at the moment. He's 1.6 seconds ahead of Scotty Barton. Yeah, one screen's fine. Thanks, Barbs. Yeah, just slave off me, Cowie. We'll figure out the double screen another day. Scotty Barton at the moment, though, P2 on the road. One thing that we should mention, actually, Cowie, is what's actually going to be important tonight is some drivers who we may normally expect on the front may not be able to get up the front in qualifying. They may get caught up by some other drivers in the traffic, may get caught up by off-track, stuff like that. And drivers who are actually quite good in the rain, who may not qualify up the front very often, may get up the front and then may actually be able to avoid some of the carnage that can happen in the background. We need an Eau Rouge. We need a radio on Eau Rouge cam. You're right, Barbs. Yeah, but that may be the scenario we're in, where some drivers who are actually quite good in the rain, but they're maybe not up to pace, could qualify further up the front, avoid some of the carnage that can happen in the mid to rear end of the pack, and then actually get a good result for them tonight. Actually get them some good points on offer as well. Thanks, Steph. Appreciate it.
It is one of those things, man. This place is difficult in the dry where you're pushing the limit. I mean, these guys would be flat to the floor through Eau Rouge and Radiant coming over the top. In the wet, it's a whole different ball game. There's a few rules in the wet. You stay away from puddles, you stay away from white lines, and you stay away from curbs. Well,
no, that's right.
You can't do any of that going through Eau Rouge.
That's it.
So it comes down to maybe lining up the car, coasting over the curb nice and straight, trying to minimise your throttle input when you're near a line, and the same thing with your turning angle. But that's where you're going to see the bravery. As a dry line maybe starts to appear, then you're going to see people push even harder, and you get it wrong there, it's going to be spectacular.
Let's go on board here while we talk this through with Brandon Grotch just quickly, because we're actually going to be able to get a bird's eye view now of what the line's looking like up through Eau Rouge and Radion. So the bottom's not quite wet, but Verme's gone a bit slow through Eau Rouge there. That's don't want that to happen in the race, Cowie, and we had some problems with blue flags last week. We don't really want that to happen at that point in the track, because we could have a massive stack happen if we're not careful here tonight.
I'm finally back live. I can watch it all now and
Very
see what
good.
you were talking about.
Very good.
But yeah, Spa in the rain. I mean, you know, it says it in the name that it was going to be wet.
Yeah.
And it pretty much is every year anyway. So it had to be wet for SRW.
No, that's right. It had to be. It was a contractual requirement for us to have this as a wet race. We haven't had a wet race in a little while for the F1 Shadow Series. I'm trying to think back to when the last wet race would have been. Would it have been? Would it have been Montreal?
Yeah, I think it was Montreal. I think it might have even been. Wasn't there a not Sonoma? What was the Pocono? No,
Pocono. Oh,
no,
bloody hell.
not Pocono. Sorry.
We had Long Beach, but was that in the wet? That's the question.
No. Long Beach wasn't in the wet. That does not need wet. And I think
No, it
if I
doesn't.
remember correctly, Hutto was saying that he was really, really hoping that it wasn't going to be wet because it's
Already
Long
Safety
Beach.
Car City. So,
Right.
although we are 4.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. We've only had our twin ring. That's what it was. Twin ring. That was our last wet race. We've only had 14 drivers set times in qualifying right now, Cowie, as De Bono's now lost it at the long left and put it into the wall. We have, let me do some maths. I think we have 45 drivers in the field. Only 14 have set a lap time right now.
It's a 2-minute out lap.
That's
Like,
right.
So,
and if you make a
you know,
mistake,
and this-
all of a sudden you're over. Like, as Anderson's just done the background, he's just spun it around. I just noticed then.
realistically, you're only getting 3 chances. I mean, you know, you maybe get the 4th chance, but if you've got to spend 2 minutes to get to the line to start your lap,
well,
you know,
if you think
you're
about
only
now,
going to get 2 or 3 chances at it.
if they've towed back to pits at this point, they're going to get 1 lap. They're going to have their out lap, and then they're going to have 1 fast lap. Because remember, we can at least go over the 15 slightly. So they're going to get 1 lap in at this point. If they haven't set a lap, they've pretty much got 1 opportunity left now in this session to get it done. And it may just need to be the most slow, smooth lap. I mean, Dougie Gowans, okay, to him, he's done a 240 compared to Brandon Grotch's pole time at 229. There's, there doesn't take much to maybe try and push a little bit more to get a bit more pace out of the car for someone to maybe pip him for that 240 at the moment. But I think it's going to come down to the confidence,
grid, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
still 16th on the grid, so
That's
as you
it.
said, it's about finishing a lap. I don't think it matters what time it is. If you finish a lap, you're probably going to be in the top 30 for sure.
Well, that's right.
At the moment, it looks like the top
Well, I
20.
was going to say top 20, maybe even top 25 might be on the cards for some drivers. Although Dougie has just beat his time. He's gone 2:39, so there wasn't that much in it.
Wow,
take
Sheepy
away.
calling out the 40-car pile-up.
I
buddy.
agree,
Now
I
that
agree
we
with
know that it's
Sheepy.
wet.
I agree with Sheepy. I think lap 1, Radion's going to be a bit hectic for some drivers.
What's the safety car number then?
5.
5?
Yep.
All right. I think that's a pretty good call. I was probably thinking 4. So, for once you're a bit more ambitious than I am.
I'm going to put my neck on the line, although I know that race control may not be as willing to put the finger on the trigger depending on how wet it is. They may not want to bunch the field back up again, so I think 4 may be more likely than 5 is, but who knows. Barb's saying safety car start. That would be egregious. But what happens if we end up being like the 2022 Spa race where we don't even do, we do 2 laps and they declare the race after 3 hours of sitting on the grid. That's a possibility as well. So just quickly, Kerry. So Singer's just asked me if it's going to work tonight. It is not, unfortunately.
I think it has to. It's the Discord. I think when you're trying to share a screen so you can show what's happening on your screen, that seems to be using up a fair bit of your processing. But look, we are able to bring pictures to you guys tonight. That's the main thing. And at the moment, Brandon Grotch has jumped to the top with a 2-minute 28.41. So that's, what's that, almost 3/4 of a second on De Bono at the moment. Daniel Byrne in P7 as he comes across the line to start what's got to be his last lap. But yeah, the rain's not letting up. Those rooster tails are looking rather large plumes. So it's definitely staying wet. Everyone else out on wets out there. Are we going to get that change mid-race? I'm going to see these guys scrambling for dry tyres as that dry line comes out.
Yeah, and I don't know if we're going to get to the dry line in qualifying. Obviously, I mean, we've only got a couple of seconds left. The Bono and Grotch not being able to set times anymore. Neither is Davis, whether Barton can or not. What I think will be the test, though, is that changeover point, like I mentioned, Cowie, where figuring out when you're going to come in, and if that changeover point actually lines up with those pit stops, because we're likely going to have 2 pit stops tonight, right? We may even be able to go down to 1 if we have those safety cars. Remembering, as the times go, get longer, the lap times, the stint becomes a bit longer as well for how long you're actually able to get out of the fuel. So it may work out to a balancing point. If this race is wet enough, we get enough safety cars, then we may get to a one-stop strategy here tonight. We may get some people actually pushing the limits for it. As I don't think there's anyone else out on track at the moment. Phil Vella's still out there.
Yeah, well, info from our series admin, Hutto, giving us all the goodies. It's about a 21.6 litre tank. They use about 1.9 to 2 a lap. So a race length of 29 laps if it stays green, well, I don't think that's going to happen. It stays dry and green, but the stint length, you're talking about 11 laps normally.
As there's drivers still out there obviously able to finish their lap times. Roberts and Byrne are able to finish their lap times. Davison, he had some great pace last week, off the pace a little bit here tonight in the wet. We've pretty much got half the field, Cowie.
I think.
Yeah, I think that is. He's, I don't know if he's really able to get anything out of it. Neither's Josh Houghton. Houghton hasn't actually been able to get a time set yet. Well, we know how fast his pace is, but he hasn't been able to set a time. Roberts has come across the line. He's gone P4. Byrne's going to come across the line. Is he going to go any better? He's not. Houghton, luckily, though, sets time, goes P6 on the road thanks to the toe off Daniel Byrne. Damien Cairns is still out there.
I think Byrne went a bit wide there at Blanchemont.
Yeah.
And figured an off track. That's why that didn't count. But yeah, look, it's some interesting names at the top, some regulars as well, but also, a few names back. Jamie Davis out there having a drive in the Super Lights, and he's P5. So battling against him on a Tuesday night, and he's dipping his feet in a Wednesday night. I'm a bit jealous, Hamish.
Yeah, he's come out of the supercars, come out of the 8.6s that he did last season as the cars just backed it into the wall in the background there. And this season's having a crack at the Super Formulas, so he's really starting to dip his toes and everything. I'm waiting for him to come and do... He did GTs last season. I'm waiting for him to come and do Legends on the Friday evening to see how he does in those things. Those are an absolute ball of fun, as are these cars. So, and it's good to see a lot of drivers testing the waters in a couple of different car types. No pun intended for tonight with the rain, but... It's good to see you get a lot of crossover between race series. It's not just, obviously you have some of those drivers who do they're a one and gun type of driver, but then there's the other drivers who dip the toes a little bit, test out different car types, see what they like, see what they don't like. Some drivers and then even eventually stick with the car they've tried and leave the other one behind.
Well, I might have mentioned to you before the broadcast that I've just bought another wheel.
Yep.
This is one with a screen that maybe opens me up driving these sort of cars.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see you win it, Cowie. I almost feel like with this open wheel championship at the end of the season, we need to be able to offer up wild cards. We need to be able to say, hey, Cowie wants to have a crack. Can we put Cowie up there? Let him have a go for just that race, as qualifying has now come to an end. Jackal's in the chat saying, I'm ready to crash under safety car lap 2 after crashing lap 1. So many rivers across the track makes it so difficult to find a line. And that's what's difficult about this place. Because the line is forever moving across this track, Cowie, you can get... look at the bottom of Eau Rouge where the river is right on the curb. You can get rivers appearing on spots where sometimes you have to actually just cross the body of water to get to the spot on the track where the grip is, and that can then also cause some chaos as well. So this could be anyone's ball game here tonight, and I think it's honestly going to come down to whoever can keep it out of the wall. That is what this is ultimately going to come down to. Whoever can keep it out of the wall, and whoever can just stay as clean as possible up the front. That's who's going to get the win tonight.
I'm not surprised to see Jamie Davis's name near the top 5, inside that top 5, because one thing we will say about the guys that have put a focus into the V8 supercars is it does teach you throttle control.
Yes.
And definitely making sure you've got grip before you get on it.
Yeah.
No matter corners.
And I think
guys generally fairly good in the wet. So
yeah, and I think his season last season in the 8.6s with the rain will help him here tonight. I mean, obviously they're a different car type, driving a little bit differently, but he at least has some idea of what it's like to drive in the rain, where to pick your line, when to push the car, when not to push the car, so that will help him out a little bit. We will get our starting grid up for tonight's race, though. There are 46 drivers to run through in this grid here tonight, so we'll quickly smash through them. Brandon Grotch will start pole position here tonight for Frog Leap Juice Racing, ahead of Dylan DeBono for Velocity Simlab. Scotty Barton will then start P3 on the road, ahead of Dave Roberts in P4. Jamie Davis and Josh Houghton will be in P5 and P6. Phil Vella, Daniel Byrne will make up the 4th row of the grid, ahead of Marcus Knitska and Danny Davidson for P9 and P10. Sam Katakazinos and Jason Depp will then make up the top 12 cars on the road here tonight, as we then move back to Jay Dixon, Damien Cairns for the 7th row, with Callan Hodgkin, Timothy Smalenberg for the 8th row of the grid. Doug Gowans, Thomas Donohoe will then make up P17 and P18, with Tony Baker and Nathan Verney making up the top 20 cars on the road here tonight. David Gallo, Nick Schmalenberg will then start ahead of Gordon McCulloch and Darren Fahey here tonight to make up the top 24. We'll then move back to Callum Rosanita, Russell Gander, Scott Procock, Danny Matisic back in the series. And then those are the last drivers set times in this session here tonight. It's then Pete Ziedler, Benjamin Brook, Jack Anderson, Matt Tessiera, Matt Gerard, Mark Cochran. Further back to Tyler Sheaf, Andrew Rushworth, Dean Singovich, Keegan Caldwell, Josh King, Kevin Wakefield, Greg Johnson, Mitch Noble, Martin Lipsky, Phil Buckland for the end of our grid here tonight. I'm going to have to quickly do a reload of the overlays because the fonts have decided to have a little bit of a hissy fit for me. So I'll quickly reload those before our race starts here tonight.
Having a look at, there's a big chunk of AM drivers that did not get to set a lap. I think Danny Matisic was actually the last one of the top AM drivers and actually set a lap. So quite a few of them, they're struggling. A few of the pro AM guys in there as well. So it's look, this is going to be interesting. See, at the moment, does it look like the rain stopped?
As we're about to go green here. So it is still wet. It is still raining. We need to be careful of Eau Rouge and Radion here on the first lap, ladies and gentlemen, as everyone starts to peter on through. And there's already some little biffing and barging here through the first couple of corners as they come up towards Eau Rouge, and then Radion at the top of the hill, as Grotch has already lost the lead of this race. As they come up the hill, they are just at an absolute crawl county trying to get up through Radion. They've done well, though.
Wide there, but so far as a wiggle, there might have been a bit of contact in the rear there, in the back field, but you can see what it'd be like on board. You can't see a thing going down the straight for the first time, bunched up 42 cars. That is crazy. Right, 44 cars, I should say, 43.
Yep, and we've already had a wounded driver out of this, is Mitch Noble. He's already had an incident at Radion, as there's big moment here at the front of the field with Scotty Barton in the lead. Dylan DeBono has taken the lead of this race. We are still raining though, Cowie, as they come round.
Jamie Davis got caught up in that. He's back in P10 now as well, so possible contact between him and Barton there. We'll have to have a look at that maybe as things go on. Already that's
Roberts, the defending champion, who spun it round in the background now.
Well, this is what we're going to see. I mean, the weather just... Cold tyres early on in this race. The tiny little mistake off the end of running wide.
DeBono's run it way wide. Houghton's had a moment in the background as well. Everyone... Yeah, I've noticed that, Greg. Thanks, mate. I do apologise for that. I think it's settled now just a little bit here. Houghton had a moment as Grotch has now taken back the lead of this race. There are moments happening everywhere around this circuit right now. Cowie, Sinkovic has had a spin back to his old ways. As I don't know if there's been a safety car called.
I don't think you can forgive anyone here. Oh, a little bit of a wide run there from, I think that was Daniel Byrne, or was that his teammate Gallo that got up inside him, I think,
there he is there coming round. He's inside of Jamie Davis. They got Vella and Barton around them at the moment as they come through. Through Blanchimont, and Davis has spun it round on the outside of the track. There are cars here, there are everywhere right now, Cowie. And we cannot predict who's possibly going to take this one as we start lap number 2 here. We've already had a heap of moments happen across the first lap.
I think we're going to need 5-10 minutes to go through all the replays.
I think we will.
But I mean, go on board and show one of the guys in this train here, and you'll see how bad it is for them.
Let's go with De Bono in behind Brandon Grotch. I mean, you can see the spray for him back here with Jay Dixon. Has he got anyone right ahead of him? He's got Vernie up his inside as he's about to try and go round.
On board Kanitska. Kanitska's got about 2 or 3 or 4 cars.
There we go. That's the spray through Eau Rouge and then Radion at the top of the hill. So you cannot see a thing right now. Just absolute drama here. Oh, bloody rain, I know, right? You cannot see anything. And the spray is, I mean, where do you brake, Cowie? I mean, you have to. It's just an absolute tiptoe affair right now for a lot of these drivers across this track.
You're basically looking.
Oh, that's burn! Oh my God, that was so close.
Oh, he's been able to get out of the way too.
Yeah, he's done the smart play. Just move it back off the road, try and get out the way. He's trying to rejoin as best he can. I mean, fair play to him. I mean, there's what can you say for an unsafe rejoin? I mean, any rejoin's going to be unsafe tonight because you just cannot determine where the field is right now.
Well, the thing is that it's, you know, when these guys are good, we know these guys are good. They're near the front. They've got pace, and when a tiny little bit of line or a little bit of counter steer just sends you flying in these conditions. So, we saw there's another car around on the inside. That is a broken machine. That may well be safety car number 1. Cars are slowing down.
They are. They're slowing right down at the moment. I'm sorry about this blinking. I thought I'd fixed it before with my settings. Hopefully everything.
I think that has been called, I believe.
Not surprised, to be honest with you.
Well, maybe it'll give us a chance to have a look at a few of the things that happened earlier there, if you can. But wow.
I might take the opportunity just to double check the rain settings, because I know there is a separate rain setting that changes how high detailed your rain is. So I'll quickly, very, very quickly take the opportunity just to double check that.
While you do that, I'm going to just have a look here. Hutto sent me a little bit more information, and for the lap calculator for thinking about the wet, I believe. So fuel burn of 1.7. They're requiring 40.8 to finish the race at that rate. And so look, it looks like probably a one-stopper.
Okay.
We would have to have a lot of laps behind the safety car for these guys to even be in the window of doing it in a one-stopper.
Yeah.
Really, what we're talking, 14, 12 to 13 laps for a stint. So at the moment, my overlay is saying with the delay we're still going to do about 22, 23 laps, but that's without a pit stop. So probably 21, 22 if it went from here.
Yep.
But so that'll make it definitely a one-stopper. But again, I mean, the question is, look, now we can see it's not raining on the at the start-finish line, but when you come up over the hill and through Eau Rouge and Radion, it's raining hard.
Yeah. Just so you know, Stephen, it doesn't matter about the close shots or not. It's because It's just it's the amount of cars. That's the problem. It's the amount of cars at the moment. I mean, 46, or technically 49 cars in the session. Heavy rain. If we're on board with someone, that's going to look worse than the cars blinking all over the place, because we're going to be on board with them as they're blinking. So it's going to look like a strobe light, pretty much. So hopefully it settles itself. It should settle itself. Let me check.
So obviously Sinker's in the pits due to the rain, because that's why he's talking to us.
No, that's Stephen, because he's not racing. Stephen doesn't normally race, remember? So just to update, so currently my GPU is at like 99%. So might need to turn some of the graphics down, maybe. The CPU kind of steady. Yeah, it's the GPU at the moment. It's annoying. Hopefully we can sort this out. Might just need to turn things down a little bit, but I mean, it's been fine recently, Cowie. Have we got any word on when the safety car's actually coming in?
I haven't heard. Safety car ending, so it will be coming in at the end of this lap.
Might need to hope for another safety car then, so I can stuff around with some of the graphics settings.
We're about halfway through the lap, so safety car's pulling lights out. So yeah, so they're coming down onto the back straight now, and so he's starting to pull away. Already we can have a look. It's pretty much all pros in the top 15, apart from Nathan Verney, our leading Pro-Am, running P12, and that's up 8, I think, from his start, was it?
Yes, I believe so.
P20 or P22 he was. Nathan Verney, yep, up 8 spots. And the other one is Nick Schmalenberg in 15th at the moment. He's our leading AM driver, and he's up 7. We've got a couple other movers. Andrew Rushworth up 17. Jack Anderson up 18. Josh King up 18. But those three were three of the guys that did not put in a time in qualifying. Remember, we have 44 cars out there, and 28 of them put in a time. So, and already we've seen the weather, you know, throwing people about. At the moment, though, it looks like it's mostly our AMs and one or two of the Pro-Ams, apart from Darren Fahey, is the lead pro that's been caught out in that first lot of incidents.
As well as Dave Roberts, he's been caught out as well. He's down 20 spots as Grotch is going to bring him around the final corner. I predict he has gone. I mean, I couldn't really tell. It's a pretty slow run off the exit of the last corner, but he has gone, and look at that spray, Cowie. Just absolutely everywhere right now. I think...
Absolutely glorious.
I know. I don't want to speak too soon, touch wood, but I think we're okay at the moment. We look all right. I think I've fixed it. We'll see. We'll see what happens when everyone spreads out.
Oh, no. Who's that? That is Schmalenberg, I think it was.
It was.
Timothy.
Yep.
Timothy tumbling down with a spin there. That's going to cost
Noble
him.
as well. Or King.
It's so easy to do. These guys are tiptoeing
through,
you know, sort of...
Grotch has also had a moment. I can barely see it. Grotch has had a moment at the top of the hill. He spun it round at the exit of Radion. I believe Noble's been involved. And now De Bono has been released at the front of the field. So we may have another safety car here, Cowie, if we're not careful. We're 10 minutes into this race.
Broken, he's not going anywhere.
I don't think he was. He's still parked there.
You just see that standing water too, you know, on the track.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, De Bono now, he'll be hoping to run away with this thing. He's built a gap. And he's just started to push forward.
Something's happened with Dean Sinkovic's calling out contact in Eau Rouge. But, I mean, you know, that's going to be part two, because you're going to have people that have got different levels of confidence going through there. You know, if you've got a guy tiptoeing down the bottom and someone who's coming through with speed, a big speed differential in these things and no brake lights.
Well,
It's
that's
just a
right.
red light
And
showing that
like,
someone's there.
if you're coming up Radion, right, or Eau Rouge into Radion, there's about another moment in the background with Martin Lipsky and Keegan Caldwell. I'm not going to click back to it in case it starts jumping again. We've actually kind of petered out now that we have De Bono at the front, kind of on his own. As Schmalenberg's also gone round in the background. Oh, no, he's just run it wide. So, I guess one thing to point out too is, you know, you're coming up through at the bottom of Eau Rouge, up into Radion. If someone suddenly decides to slow down right on the racing line or halfway up the hill, you've got nowhere to go. And you've got absolutely no grip to try and pull the car up. If someone has a spin at the top of Radion right in front of you, you've got nowhere to go. Just a heap of issues that can get caused at that corner. Same at Blanchimont as well. So there are a heap of spots around this track that could catch a lot of drivers out and continue to cause chaos here for us.
Well, they're, you know, spots that we love to watch racing, and they create moments and opportunities. You know, so we love them, and you know, just add water. I mean, you know, that's what they say, to add a bit of spice.
No, that's
to
right.
racing, just add water. But at the moment, we're looking at the battle between just Gowans, Byrne, and Pocock, is it?
Oh, I'm currently on Dylan De Bono.
Yeah, Donahoe and De Bono coming.
Yeah, I'm at the front on De Bono at the moment. Sean saying, sorry to miss tonight's race. PC freezes in rain, unfortunately. So I am currently having messages with someone trying to give me tech support, so when we do get a break in the race from a safety car, I can go straight to doing something to at least try and fix it. I've been told to check my graphics slider, so we'll check that under safety car next time, because I reckon we're going to get another one, Cowie, by the looks of things at the moment. Sam Catacasinos has had an incident in the background at the top of the hill at the end of the Kemmel Straight, so he's now dropping outside the top 10. And I mean, they're dropping like flies right now, Cowie.
I mean, look, it's tricky at the best of times, this track, and as I said, you know, we just add water and, you know, just find a way to spice it up. Ridiculously, I should say, because that's what it does around here.
That's right.
Gotta love the weather.
It is a big test for some of these drivers, and I mean it's not one you can take lightly. Yeah, Sean. I mean that's what happened last week. My CPU was bottling out because one of my things was bottlenecking in terms of my RAM. This week it's my graphics, so I'm going to turn down the graphics settings once we get another safety car. As Gordon McCulloch has spun it round right on the racing line here in the VGA entry. He's pulled it off track, luckily, to give the drivers some way to go around him, but that's a bit unfortunate for him, as De Bono still leads now.
There.
Yeah.
Look, a machine.
Yeah,
I like
the good old Veterans Gaming Australia, of course, former veterans in the literal term, in terms of being former Army veterans or Navy or Air Force, wherever they may be from. They're supporting a lot of good causes, is Veterans Gaming Australia, so be sure to give them the support as well. 2 minute 34.86, currently the fastest lap of the race, just set by Dylan De Bono there on lap 6 of this race. We're 15 and a half minutes to go. We finally spread the field out, Cowie, so I've finally been given somewhat of a reprieve right now.
Think of those times, though. That's what, 4 or 5 seconds off what they were doing in quali.
That's right.
These guys are really driving within themselves, driving to the conditions.
Track is also gone a bit wetter as well, so it's probably gone a bit slower too at this point.
But De Bono with a nice 4-second lead over Scotty Barton, who's having a great run there in P2, and Davison P3. Vella, well, we stay at Phil. He somehow just has a great knack of being able to avoid incidents and to make his way through calmly and safely, and puts himself in the position week after week. That's why he keeps winning championships and winning races, is because he keeps putting himself in good positions. I know myself, last night I had a poor qualifying and got caught up in some contact on lap 1, and that's what can happen if
some contact is an understatement, Cowie. It was a pile up. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was, but the problem that I had was that I forgot that Scotty had a pit lane start. I thought everyone had gone through, and then I spun around right in front of him. May look like an idiot, but these things happen. I did apologise to Scotty, so these things happen. It certainly wasn't intentional, but and I was watching my relative. I thought I was clear. Obviously not. But here we go, looking at Gallo at the moment, and it was Davis and Dixon with a great battle there behind as well. I think that was that Dixon trying to make a move on Davis, but he's covered that nicely.
He has indeed. As we continue on, Matty Gerard's had an incident in the background. It's a spin round at the long left once again. So it's catching more and more drivers out. He's up 15 spots in this race actually. A couple of drivers have got more than that. Buckland's up 17, Noble's up 19. And then Rushworth and Gallo are both up 16 spots at the moment. And Gallo's into the top 5 right now in front of Jamie Davis.
Some good movers. Davison up 3, up 16. So another one of those drivers that, a former champion knows how to, stay safe and make the most of these situations. At the moment, Nathan Verney sitting in P10 as the leading Pro-Am car. He's got 7 spots over Callum Hodgkinson. I mean, we've said before, these are the sort of races where those Pro-Am and Am fields, if you have a great result in a race like this, that could be worth, 40, 50 points on your rivals and really set you up for the championship. Or, to talk about myself, but I've had a couple of bad rounds already, so I'm already 60 or 70.
Well, I mean,
that's not going to happen.
Well, that's right, but also one thing we need to point out right now is Hodgkinson. I mean, he might be the second-seeded Pro-Am, but he has third place right behind him in Jack Anderson as well. So if something happens to Verney, this could be the top 2 battle. If Verney gets caught up something there, yes, he has quite a big gap over these guys. They are in the traffic, but it's going to be about survival right now. If anyone has any sort of mindset coming into this race or during this race, it needs to be that of an endurance race right now, Carrie. It's all about just surviving, cutting those clean laps, trying not to get involved in too many battles, and just trying to make it to that checkered flag. Because as we can see, that Schmalenberg in the background who's now spun it round, the leading amateur, it can go away just like that, super, super quickly. And now he's dropping spots. McCulloch, who's coming up here to Eau Rouge and then into Radion, he's now gained a heap of time over Schmalenberg after that simple spin, as Anderson's now got the move done on Hodgkinson for P2 in the Pro-Am. So it can happen in an instant, So I think if you're in this position like Anderson and Hodgkinson are, P2 and P3, you're just trying to get to the end. You're just trying to get to that checkered flag. It's going to be tough for you to be able to make up spots easily in this race, whether it's forcing mistakes on other drivers. But I think if you can minimise your own mistakes and just get to the end of the race, that's going to pay dividends for you.
Well, look, I've known Nathan Verney right from since SRW started, and I've seen his driving style, and I do know that he's one of those drivers that, tends to look for these opportunities, try and take advantage of situations where, the cards fall his way. So, I'm expecting Nathan to, try and maximise this as a good chance to gain some big points in the Pro-Am Championship.
Well, a couple of drivers have just ran it wide there through the long left. Verney was one of them. He was actually dropping some time. All of a sudden, Anderson's now back off this battle. Gerard's now back into P2. So these guys may be swapping and changing positions a little bit here throughout this race. The more that they run it wide, as Gerard has just spun it round. As soon as we say that, so Hodgkinson's going to come past, Anderson's going to come past. So it'll be.
Commentator's curse.
Oh, well, no, I would say it's more of a blanket term. It's not necessarily just about those guys, but a blanket term of, this track's continuously evolving. Small mistakes can cost drivers. I think we'll be swapping and changing. I don't think anything's going to be set in stone, really, until we actually do get to the checkered flag, even though Dylan De Bono is winning by 6.7 seconds right now. It's going to be about survival, about getting to the end. Field's going to stay spread out. Unless we get a big incident, we may not actually get a safety car here, seeing as how spread out the field is.
Well, it's interesting, we're talking about Nathan Verney and how I sort of would describe him as probably, not necessarily a careful driver, but he's someone who knows his own speed and knows when he can take advantage, and this is like the perfect opportunity for him, this sort of style of race. Dylan De Bono, well, he's a driver that we know that he would see these conditions as testing himself. So he's not worried about the car behind him at the moment. He'll be driving to see where he can find, where is that a little bit more grip, where can I push a little bit more here. That's the style of driver that Dylan is. So, and you know, and I mean, look, that's what you need to be. I think that style of driver to be really successful at the top level. But with 44 drivers out there tonight, we've got a variety of levels of, you know, young guys that have maybe got the chance of making racing a career opportunity, and we've got armchair athletes like ourselves and even armchair commentators talking about it. And lots of sort of levels in between. We've got former racers as well. We've got guys like Dylan that, you know, have got a track car and race on the weekends when he can, you know, in real. So it's just one of the great things about sim racing. Oh, there's a moment there. If he caught it,
that was Houghton. Yeah, sorry. He had done it as I had clicked over to Matt Gerard, who was in a battle with Nick Schmalenberg. He had just caught it as I clicked away. So it was literally just perfect timing for me not to do that. Oh, yeah, he did well. So
look, and we're seeing here, look, see some guys are still prepared to go out near those curbs. I think Epu on there, it's one where you can run a little wide there and use it. You know, but
come back on in the background.
You'll see through here as you come through, what's this is campus, I think it's called, this section.
Yeah.
And coming down to Stavilo, you know, Stavilo is one of those corners where you normally ride right up on the curb. Will they use it? Well away from the line.
I don't think they will, because although Hodgkins has done it, so is Anderson. So I don't know if I'd be using all the curbs at this point, as Hodgkinson's wrecked his run onto the back straight. Anderson's now going to have the outside line coming up towards Blanchemont. Hodgkinson pulls out of it. Smart play from him. These guys are just having one hell of a cracking battle with a lot of racing respect being shown as well. If one of them's losing the position, they just let them have it at the moment. They know that the rain, something can happen. You don't really want to push too hard there. Just have a nice tight battle at the moment, which is good to see.
Look, you know, what we live for, battles in the rain, and I must admit, you know, my first restart in a wet race with the field all bunched, you know, 10 or 15 cars deep, I just laughed because you couldn't see anything. You know, so
no, that's right.
You know, we can see here, you know, Gowans at the back of Hodgkinson at the moment trying to find a way through, and an onboard with Gowans would have just shown spray. That was it.
Well,
maybe a flashing red light in the middle of it.
That might be all we're going to see as we go up Eau Rouge and Radion right now on board with Dougie Gowans here, Cowie. He may not be quite close enough to get all spray as Hodgkinson's run it way wide. So lucky not to hit the wall. All three of them have blown up Radion. They're all going to get a slowdown, but they're very, very lucky to have not collected the wall off that run up the hill.
The thing is, with these wet tyres in this condition, I reckon you can probably burn off the slowdown before the braking zone anyway, so I don't know if it's going to be that harsh a penalty, but it did cost them both a lot of time. You can see they're avoiding the puddles. Doug staying well away from him and still getting a little wiggle mid-corner. I mean, that's where it is when you start to apply that throttle. Oh, and that's a moment there from Anderson.
He was
thought he was going to swing in front of there, but he's avoided it.
He was lucky not to hit the wall. He was very, very lucky not to hit the wall there. Just caught a bit of dirt, bit of sand. So he's done well on that behalf. Oh, he's still having a big wiggle through here.
And he's done well. Locked the right front there and actually managed to get the car to turn in, which was pretty good. So there's an interesting battle going on here, and positions changing from little mistakes. And I mean, that's what the wet is about. It's about minimising those mistakes. Oh, and there's another one.
Yep.
As he's just got that inside curb, and that's really the things that. Stay away from lines, stay away from curves, stay away from puddles.
That's right.
Do those three things, then all you've got to worry about is your throttle or brake management and your steering input, which is pretty much what you're going to do, regardless of it being wet or dry. But, I mean, as we said, like Jamie Davis now running P4 in a battle with Vela, I think, up the front there, if we want to have a look at that. And, you know, a V8 supercar driver who is, you know, able to sort of, I suppose, be a bit more gentle on the throttle, not stab at it quite as much. And those skills that you learn driving a V8 is probably putting him in really good stead. Well, it is at the moment, P5. So I think he must have had a moment.
I don't know if he did.
Might have just been my time.
He had a slight off track.
But his time was actually better than Vela's last lap. Okay, or that'll do a pirouette.
Yep.
And
that'll make you drop spots for sure. But I think the big strategy is you know, if you want to try and survive, is you stay away from the curbs, you stay away from the puddles, and you stay away from the painted lines. That is how you get to a position that Dylan Bono is in right now. It's 8 seconds up the road from P2. You know, and I know it's tough when you're in a battle with someone, but that's the mentality. As Dougie Gowans has had a moment at the top of Radion on the entry to the Camel Straight, has to hold the position there. Oh no, and now he's lost his front wing. Oh, and if he can't get this back, we may have another safety car in our hands halfway through this race, Cowie, and we've had no pit stops as of yet for fuel. So and it's looking like it could be a one-stop strategy right now with the extended lap times.
Yeah, well, you said probably 12, maybe 13 laps in these cars with just a little bit less fuel burn in the wet because you're not getting up to that top speed quite as much.
Yeah.
So that's going to give them an extra lap or two. We said 11 if it stays dry, so it's probably 12, maybe 13. We're on lap 11 now, so we may start to see pit strategies play out.
But we have had a safety car though as well. We have had a safety car as well, so we may not get we may get more laps in the next part of the stint. You know, as we get towards the end, especially if we don't have a safety car. And saying that, Phil Vella's in the pit lane. Although he's not missing a front wing, which is good. So this is actually a genuine pit stop for him. Although I believe the safety car may have been called because it is out on track, Cowie. So we have got a safety car.
So who fell afoul there? Because we've had a couple of moments.
Yep, let's have a look. Let me just.
Buckland.
Yeah, but that's happened after the safety car's been called. So I'll quickly scroll back through. I'll find what's happened, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage, and I'm going to have a look at my graphics slider. See if that's actually going to fix us up. So Vernie had a moment. Where was this? Down at the long left. Oh, big spin. Has he hit the wall? I don't think he has.
You get a lot of runoff there at Puon, so that's probably the one corner that's a little bit more forgiving. But it's so fast. That's where, if you have a mistake there, it's going to cost you 5-10 seconds. And then we see Davis have the same moment, same corner.
Yep. And then Anderson had a moment, or was this the one that we already saw? Oh yeah, he had a moment there. Has he pulled away? He's pulled away, so that wasn't that one. I don't know, Cowie. I can't, unless it was Josh King on lap 9, but that was lap 9. Oh, that could be his lap 9, everyone else's lap 10. So this is down at Blanchemont, up towards the final chicane. It was just a pirouette. He seemed alright, so I'm not 100% sure, Cowie, to be honest with you. Not 100%
Greg
sure.
Johnson entered the pits. I can't see anyone that's teleported with the pits.
Yeah, no one's towed back yet. Well, Doug Gowans has just jumped to pits, but he had an off track, so...
Well, it could have been Dougie maybe not being able to get back.
Very possibly. It could have been, if I can find it, because there was one with Dougie Gowans.
Well,
it'll be this one. It'll be this one here. Yeah, Price. Yeah, it'll be this one here. So he's trying to go down the Kemmel Straight. He can't get it back. So yeah, the car's crabbing. That's why. So that is the exact reason why we've got a safety car, because the front wheels are off the ground, Cowie.
Yeah.
You can't steer the thing. As DeBono and Barton now brought their cars into pit lane. So we're into the pit stop right now under safety car. I'm going to take this quick opportunity to double check my graphics sliders. Do apologise for bringing up that onto screen for right now. Turning this into a radio station for the moment. We'll turn that down from max quality. We'll turn it up a little bit more towards max frame rate, and that should fix us up. To give us most frames, more so than max quality. So we'll see if this has fixed it. I hope it has, as there's a heap of lap traffic, Cowie, so I reckon we're going to be under safety car for probably a good 5 or 6 minutes, because we're going to have to do a heap of waiver rounds as DeBono's pulled up to let some of the lap traffic go past and up Eau Rouge Radion. So
yeah, I think World Race Controllers are going to call quite a few of them.
Yeah, which I'm not surprised by.
Well, we're up to 2 safety cars halfway through, so I'm looking good for my 4 call. 5 might be a bit ambitious.
I'm okay with that, to be honest with you. I'm okay with it being a little bit over ambitious. I was willing to put my neck on the line just to see how things are going. We've still got a little bit of blinking here. Let's just fix that. Okay, so whilst they complete these waiver rounds, let's just quickly put that on max frame rate instead of max quality. And that should then fix our issues. Let's go there.
But big fields. I mean, you know, again, kudos to all the drivers out there that have come along to support this series. You know, tried to break Hamish's PC again this week.
Yep.
So they were successful last week.
They
we
were.
made some upgrades, and they're still doing it again. So look, we love the support of you guys. But look, we'd love to be able to give you a product that doesn't have any of those flickers. I mean, I think, you know, like even some of the top high-end systems struggle when you've got so many cars out. You've got weather, you know.
I mean,
ideally,
Cowie. Yeah, ideally we would have 70 entries and we'd run 2 splits of 35 drivers. That would be perfect, I think, if we could do that somehow. And you'd have a whole pro split, then you'd have pro-am and amateur in their own split.
I like the idea of 40-something cars out on track.
I do as well, but it's unrealistic, you know. It's a lot of cars on track, and if you were to run, like if you were to get enough drivers for 2 splits, right, you wouldn't run it as max entries in one split and then minimum and then just leftovers in the next, as Johnson spun it around as well.
Under the safety car.
Yep. You would split it at that point. If you had, say, 60 entries, you would just split it at 30-30 and have 2 splits of the same amount. You wouldn't have it as 50 and then a little bit.
You're not going anywhere there, Johnson.
He's not. I reckon he's beached it on that curb, because that is a 3D curb there. I reckon he's beached it, which is unfortunate for him.
I'm still waiting to see the new update of Spa since they made the change.
Yeah,
so I haven't heard any word on that.
The fix of Radeon at the top of the hill. Sorry.
All the Australian speculation is are we going to get Gen 3 in the next update, you know, the next season? See if that is the case, because I mean, there's a bunch of us supercar drivers that are waiting for, you know, Gen 3 wet equipped.
I've heard nothing recently. The last thing I heard was Season 1 2025, but I'm more skeptical than that. I think it will be Season 4. I think it'll be Season 4 in time for the Bathurst 1000. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Speculation is at the moment, I suppose, with the Bathurst 1000 being week 1 generally of the Season 4 in iRacing.
I think it works out to week 2.
Does it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's when it works out to. Oh yeah, because the real life 1000 is what, the 10th to the 13th, and I think the iRacing one is the week before, if I'm correct, normally. And I think our last round is the second last week of September, which is the week before week 13. So actually, yeah, it'd probably would be week 1 of Season 4 would be the 1000.
Only 1 or 2, but I know normally it's really early on in that 4th season.
Yeah, it's normally the first special event of the season, and normally the last special event of Season 2. At least this year is going to be the Brickyard 6 hour. So that's...
Well, you know, I heard that, you know, teams were holding on to data, other teams were reluctant to hand it over. I've heard that, you know, the supercars have been pushing iRacing hard to get it to come out, and you know, they were pushing before rain came out, and then they were told, nah, look, you know, rain's happening, so that might hold things back a bit. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think for sure
it'll be within the next 2 seasons. I think we could almost guarantee it's within the next 2 seasons. If it's any longer than that, people are going to lose interest in racing the supercar, because they won't be willing anymore. They'll stop caring. And
look,
because
I
they've
don't
been
think so, 'cause I think it's enough of
stringing
a
us
set that
along
love
for nearly 2 years now with the promise of Gen 3. You know, so
yeah. Look, I mean, with the affiliation that Supercars have had with iRacing, we were hoping, but I mean, you've also got to remember in the scheme of things, Aussie sim racing is only a drop in the ocean compared to the US market and some of those bigger markets out there.
And it has significantly shrunk ever since the end of the pandemic as well.
Oh, of course, but even then, it's still, for iRacing to actually providing, us with the current V8 cars and all that, and it is, it's been pretty awesome, really. And so I suppose, we're just going to hope and pray and maybe suck up to the iRacing gods to get the car a bit quicker than they're telling us. That'd be nice.
Are you going to stick to General Motors when Gen 3 comes out, Cowie, or are you going to change sides?
Yeah, no, you can't drive a brick with wheels, man. They're not driving.
So why are you going to be driving a Camaro then? You got to admit that Mustang looks pretty sick. It looks pretty sweet.
You don't want me to start sort of bombarding you with all the anti-Ford memes that I keep finding. So
I'm not a manufacturer fan. I just don't particularly like the look of the Camaro, to be honest with you. I prefer the look of the Mustang, but I'm not an affiliate. I don't just support Ford. I don't just support GM. I support drivers more or less.
If I had my wish, I'd do the 68 Camaro on a modern 2024 version. Just that resto mod. But yeah, look, the old style Camaro's absolutely amazing. I don't mind the new style. I suppose they've got that little bit of a typewriter look to it, don't they?
I just think the supercars on the front end looks way too tall, in my opinion. I don't know what it is. It just looks square when you look dead on it. I don't know.
But it's going to be interesting because one of the things with the V8s, the current model that we're racing and the previous Gen 2 cars in real life, they're actually a bit narrower at the top.
Yeah.
Whereas the Gen 3 cars are a bit wider. So I know that sort of jumping from a GT car to my V8 supercar on my sim, that the inside of the car seems a bit smaller in the V8.
Yep.
So, again, it's spatial awareness and how well you set up your field of view, but you don't want to be tweaking with that stuff too much that it affects the outside view, because then you start missing apexes. So it'd be interesting to drive a wider car and see how it feels. Now, get back to the Super Formula Series here, the Cool Master Super Formula Championship. At the moment, Dylan De Bono, he's got Daniel Byrne behind him. No, Daniel Byrne's P8.
Scotty Barton in behind him. Danny Davison in P3.
Phil Vella P4. Davis
P5.
Yep. But look, Davis will doing a great job out there. V8 driver. He knows how to handle the wet, or knows how to handle a car with no grip. So in the wet, that is probably the same as a supercar.
Well, you know what's interesting, Cowie? Top 12 cars, all pros. The next 6 cars are the top 6 for the Pro-Ams right now.
Yeah,
so both wins are on the line for those. Yep.
That moment Vernie had, he was probably a couple more spots higher.
Yep.
Would have probably been inside the top 10. And now he's P4 in class.
Yep.
And sitting 17th, 16th on the road. So
that's right.
One little mistake, and the thing is, in these conditions, you can't even blame yourself. But it's like, I didn't know I made a mistake. The car just decided to throw around on me.
That's right. As safety car has now pulled away, so we will get going racing once again. We will see how chaotic it can get here off this restart. I think we can agree, though, Cowie, that this should be a one-stop race at this point now. We've only done 13 laps in 41 minutes. Should be able to get home from here on the fuel they have on board of these cars. Dylan De Bono leads the way to Scotty Barton and Danny Davison. They're going to come round the final chicane now to get this race going again. He's going to go straight away off the exit to build that gap on Scotty Barton here off this restart as we come down towards turn 1 once again. And look at the spray already getting created off this front pack down towards turn number 1. We've got 19 or 18 minutes to go just about here, Cowie. Not long left, but a lot of chaos can happen in that time.
Oh, bunch the cars back up again, and you know, we all know the safety cars breed safety cars. We're still a couple of short of our initial prediction, but let's see how they come through. It's a great shot of them coming up over Radion Eau Rouge. Or Caution Eau Rouge, someone had a moment there.
I don't.
Eau Rouge is at the bottom.
Josh Houghton, I believe, has had a moment, and he's parked up at Radion, so they've actually miscued that. It's Radion that's actually happened. Eau Rouge is at the bottom. But yeah, it's Josh Houghton. He's parked up at the top of the hill, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to him. We'll try and get some replays happening of this one, of how this has occurred. Josh Houghton, so he's in between the Carlin's cars. He's had a big wiggle up the hill and then into the wall. Yep, and that car is broken. Yep, that car is broken.
Just let him go by the looks of it, so race control not interested in bringing the safety car back out straight away again. So
I'm not necessarily surprised. I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, Jack Anderson was caught out by that as well. He ran it slightly wide, then had nowhere to go because Houghton was right in the way. But DeBono leads. He's got a nice, tidy gap over Scotty Barton once again, as Vela's already gone past Davidson. Yep, he's able to push harder in the rains. He's been practicing. Remember, he struggled in our first rain race a while ago at Fuji, and he's really started to work on his wet weather prowess here, Cowie, and has actually started to become one of the stronger competitors in the wet weather.
Look, in the dry, Dylan is the guy that puts the car on the edge grip and seems to find right where that limit is. You know, in the wet, that's a good skill to have. But probably, as you said, just maybe a bit more practice in sort of greasier conditions, and straight away to the front. But I mean, we're seeing here, just looking at the timing team with pretty much the whole field, we're not seeing any pro-ams or AMs mixing it in the middle with the pros. It's all pros at the top of the field. That shows you, that level of class and the extra bit of skill that these conditions require.
As Konitska looks to slot it up the inside of Daniel Byrne now. At the final couple of corners, it's Carlins versus Pace Syndicate here at the back end of the top 10. Konitska's going to get the run out of the final corner. He's going to try and get this move done on Daniel Burney, but he's not going to give it up anytime soon. As they come up towards turn one, Konitska's now going to have the inside run for the first corner. Gets that move done there as Davis has spun it round up the road from them. So another victim has been claimed from pushing just a little bit too hard on exit onto the curbs, as Byrne is now trying to line something up here on Konitska as they come up Eau Rouge. And then into Radion at the top of the hill. They look nice and tidy at the moment at the run at the top of the hill. And they're going to have the... that's fair enough, Barbs. That's fair. Just to say, I mean, majority of the people will just assume that Eau Rouge is the whole thing. Not many people are pedantic enough to know that Radion is the top of the hill.
Yeah, when you get a sort of third car in that spray, you lose sight of him.
That's it.
Imagine what it's like, for us commentators and people watching. And imagine what it's like on board with the driver with you. In the spray of three cars. I mean, sometimes, they talk about it at Bathurst. Hell Corner used to be one of those tracks that in the afternoon you get the sun in your eye and you can't see the corner, so you're basically looking at the fence for a brake marker, right? That's what it's like in the wet. When you can't see a thing, you try to look at anything that gives you some semblance of an idea of where you need to brake. A little moment there, little wiggle from Konitska, and that's immediately given Gallo and Robertson Byrne a chance to catch back up on him.
He's managed to just keep it nice and clean though. Off that run through the corner, Mitchie Noble's had an off track in the background here, very lucky not to get caught up with anyone else in this moment. He has now reset back onto the track here as Hodgkinson. Well, they've all now spread out off this restart carry. Some of them have managed to keep it clean, some of them have been caught up in some moments. Over the last two laps, we've got 15 minutes to go in this race. Anderson, and I thought he was having a moment there. He just had a slight off track, but he's having a moment here with Cochrane as these guys are all now battling for a top 25 spot on the road. Josh King heads this battle with Gander, Noble, and Anderson all involved right now. It's our closest battle on track.
2 laps ago, Hamish, I was talking about like the top 12 cars were pros. now we've seen a couple of them fall back, and we've got Matty Gerard up inside the top 10 as the leading Pro-Am now. And he's got Depp a couple of spots back. But yeah, Davis, he was running P5 and now P10. So, you know, one little moment catches you out, and then, you know, these guys are trying to race hard and look for opportunities to pass, and you can't see where you're going.
No, it's exactly right.
You've also got to think also, look at it, you know, I mean, rubbered in line is not where you want to be. So when you're racing in the wet, you don't want to be where the cars have been practicing all afternoon on. Come down here into Eau Rouge and Radion, well, there's only one line anyway. So a little bit wide there from Matty Gerard, and actually not a bad line. He stayed away from the white line.
He actually deliberately let Davis go through there. He did not want any part of being too wide through Eau Rouge and into Radion. He just let him go and tucked him behind. They're going to try and get past Daniel Byrne now, just ahead of them on the road. Up at the end of the Kemble Straight, Gerard wasn't quite close enough to follow Davis through there at the entry point. They've done well, though.
Oh, he almost had a run up the inside there, but again...
Oh, but he's caught the puddle!
Well, I don't think he caught the puddle. I think he's caught the white line or the bit of the curve on the outside there, because he missed the puddle on the inside, and maybe was paying a bit too much attention to missing the puddle, and ran a little bit wide on the white line fever in the wet.
That has now promoted Jason Depp into the top 10 and into P1 for the Pro-Am. We have a drive-through penalty, Cowie, for an unsafe rejoin causing contact on lap 11 for car 017, who is, if I can find them on the list, so there's a lot of cars in the pit lane right now. Let's see if I can find them now.
Now I can see him myself there.
Yeah. Phil Buckland. That'll be to Phil Buckland, who is back out on track. But he will now have a drive-through penalty. He's already a lap down on the leaders here, as Depp is just trying to stick it here with the Carlins Motorsport crew. At the end of the top 10, they've got Grotch in behind them. Gerard and Hodgkinson battling it out for second place honours now. Thanks, Steph. Appreciate it.
Was struggling a little bit in the wet here tonight. I've had a couple little moments, and I mean, they've both got a healthy lead over their nearest competitor in the Shadow F1 series, but, you know, finding themselves sort of mixing, you know, the mid-pack of that sort of top 10. You know, while De Bono missing week 1, but is certainly coming back and making a statement so far, still leading this motor race. Phil Vella, last week's winner, P3 at the moment. Scotty Barton, I suppose the rocking the hard place in between those two titans, I suppose, in SRW series. But Scotty, we know he had a breakout season sort of starting this year, and he's been on the podium step and in the winner's circle this year, so definitely riding on that confidence, Hamish.
Well, not just that, Cowie. Well, he had started to catch back up to Dylan De Bono just then. He was behind lap traffic. Now De Bono started to pull away. But Scotty, you know, he was also one of the big contenders for a championship not too long ago last year, when Michael Cuttajar and Jay Dixon and Phil Vella were all battling it out for their titles. Bart was always the outside edge for those championships, and then would almost just miss out on them. So he's really waiting for that breakthrough moment, isn't he? He's always kind of been the bridesmaid at the end of the day.
Well, he hadn't had a win until this year, so I think he's had that breakthrough moment now. And you know, you can see he's 2 seconds off De Bono at the moment. But he also knows what De Bono's like. De Bono's pushing. He could easily make a mistake here, and Scotty could be in the right spot to pick up the pieces. I mean, he's seen it before. I don't want to put the mockers on Dylan by any chance, but you know, Dylan is one of those guys that he's always testing himself, trying to find the most out of the car. To be fast, that's how you need to race. But you know, it can also, you know, bring in those moments where something happens that is completely unexpected. And we changed to Vernie right at the moment that you picked that, mate. Perfect timing there, Hamish.
Yeah, I saw that he had a crash, then I was kind of hopeful it'd be continuing, and it was. So this was how it all occurred here for Nathan Vernie.
I was talking him up early in the broadcast, and he's just had a couple of moments. I see he's really aggressive there on the
same
throttle.
spot as Gerard. So he was in behind Sheafy from Velocity Racing Team. He then flick spun it, And Sheafy's teammate Jack Anderson came strolling on past him as soon as he did that. So
he was modulating the throttle coming out of there, sort of probably half, quarter half throttle there. Maybe just gave it a little bit too much. I mean, again, it is so easy for the car to step out.
I've just noticed as well, Jay Dixon's dropped down the order. He's all the way back in P20, so I mean, he's now been caught out, although he pit on lap 15 for whatever reason, so maybe he was carrying some damage of some sort. Not 100% sure. I mean, DeBono's still leading. Groch and Knitska, these guys now started to peter out a little bit, so I guess this is really the only problem with Spa in the rain especially. The field will start to spread here now because everyone's getting into their own little incidents. They can't really get into any battle packs. And it's kind of, we're at the point now where it's survival of the fittest for the last 10 minutes.
You almost find that when you're racing with someone else out there, the car in front, he's the one choosing the brake markers, and you're like, okay, oh, he's braking there, that's where I'll brake. And it's almost like the lead car is the exploratory, set off into the wilderness to carve the trail almost. So, when you get caught on your own in a longer race, it can be quite hard. And I suppose the other thing we see is you're pushing hard to try and catch up the guys in front, and then we're back on that pushing our limits where we're more likely to make a mistake. But in these sort of conditions, it's the cars that have managed to sort of drive maybe a little bit within themselves, hang on to control, and they're the guys that we're still seeing up near the front. I mean, you look at the field, and those guys before that we were saying were up 20 positions, well, they're no longer up those positions because they've made the mistake. Matty Gerard's made a good recovery, but we saw he having a moment and just lost 3 or 4 positions there as well. So up 23, Matty is at the moment. Could have been up 27, 28.
Yeah, up 23. I mean, Mitch Noble's up 20 spots at the moment. He's had a great run so far, which I think he actually started behind the safety car, so there'll be a couple of other free positions in terms of that. But he's had a good run, apart from a couple of off tracks.
We've had a couple of good, I mean, look, I think everyone out there has had a moment tonight. So, and as I said at the start of the broadcast, it's sort of one of these things. And we have a car on its roof. Dougie Gowans, I know he had a call out before in the chat, I think, saying it'd be nice to have some luck this week. Nathan Verney, he's missing pieces. They're right in the middle of the track. This could be dangerous. Cars coming through.
I don't think it's going to be a safety car, though. I mean, Noble's on his roof as well, Cowie, so it's all good. This is on your intake hour, apparently. This is what happened to Gowans coming up Eau Rouge. Should we go on board with it? Let's go on board with him. How's this happened? Oh, it's a big wiggle. Spins it round, clips the wall, and then it just rotates him over. And that's that one. And then this was Cochrane and Verney's, which I believe has also called out Mitch Noble. So just spins it round. He pulls it off the track, luckily, actually.
He did well.
He did. This was Verney's then. After the fact. So he came round down towards the bottom of the hill. Yeah, he just had a big old spin, and then there's Noble, and that's how he's ended up on his intake.
Nowhere it could go.
Yep.
Well, it almost looked like the ramp car from Fast and the Furious there, and then unfortunately, it was that coming around.
That was Testuero coming around as well. So they've been allowed to tow. I mean, I was doubtful we were going to have another safety car. We were, 5-10 minutes to the end, so it was never going to be that likely. As DeBono leads by a quite impressive 7.3 seconds at the moment. He's got 4 minutes until the checkered flag flies. As Jack Anderson has had an incident in the background. It looks like a tank slapper, though. Let's just have a quick gander at it, because he did return to track, and it looks to be at Eau Rouge and Radillon once again. Yep, big tank slapper to the top of the hill. Held the brakes well. Luckily, did not hit the wall. That's well caught.
I mean, look, tank slappers are a killer at the best of times. And, those that don't know, we're talking about that initial jolt when you go to correct it, the car just grabs and sets you flying. Now, in these conditions, it's not really grabbing, it's that second, hit of the wheel that you just don't get any grip and the car's just sliding. So, I don't know if I've got an answer how you deal with it at that pace. It's feel and you know, almost trying to slide the car out of a situation, and sometimes you just can't do anything about it.
No, that's right. I'd like to just point out as well, not to name and shame anyone, but the safety car has done more laps than 2 drivers here tonight who did start the race. Tony Baker and Kevin Wakefield did. Kevin Wakefield made it exactly 3 laps. Tony Baker made it 3.02. The safety car has done 3.04 laps. So, yeah. Nothing against them, obviously. Maybe they just couldn't handle the rain, whatever it was. But yeah, the safety car has officially done more laps than 2 cars in the field here tonight who did start the race.
One of the things too that we know around here too, man, is like, you know, you don't have to make a mistake yourself to get caught up in someone else's incident. You know, we saw there Tessuera came around the corner and Vernie's parked in the middle of the track. Like, what can you do?
Oh, that's right. One thing I have noticed though, Sam Katagazinos has not actually pulled out yet. He's still racing. So he has actually survived a rain race. He hasn't really had much opportunities to race in the rain previously, so maybe a bit of a learning curve for him, although he is a few laps down on the leader right now and a fair way back, so he's not going to be getting maximum points here tonight, but he is still getting points nonetheless. So if he does have to miss more than 1 race this season, at least he will have some points on the board and not have to take a donut for a drop round.
Oh, look, I mean, I always thought that, you know, the first of our 60-minute races, a few more points on offer, a bit longer race, broken car, again, another possible safety car. So that's the 4th safety car that should have happened. That we're inside the last 2 minutes. So
yeah, and he's trying to move that. He's trying to move that thing back on the starter motor.
Grab it, park it, back away.
So this is what happened. So Vernie had a moment at the top of the hill. You could actually see the remnants of his car up there. And you see Gerard was already parked there, actually. So Vernie had already put it into the wall. That was where the remnants of his car came from. This is very quickly what happened to Matty Gerard as we are into the final 60 seconds of this race in just a moment's time. Here was Matty Gerard. He come up Eau Rouge. It's claimed another victim. He's had a big tank slapper and then bang into the wall and let it rip. That's a Beyblade and a half for Matty Gerard up towards Radion. He should be let towed, but yeah, that's probably the 4th safety car that should have occurred here tonight. So you can claim a moral victory, Cowie, as we have now got the white flag this lap.
The English cricket team. It's like the English cricket team.
Yep.
Moral victory. Right. 1 lap to go for Dylan De Bono. He's just putting on a masterclass, 8.5 seconds. Vella's had a little mishap there after the restart. Didn't see what happened there, but he's back in P6. So at the moment it is De Bono, Barch and Grotch holding the top 3 spots, and there's about sort of 5 seconds between Barch and Grotch, and he's got about 4 seconds over Davis, who looks like he's putting on a late charge. But, you know, looking at their previous lap times, it's only been separated by a couple of seconds in these conditions. So, it'd have to be a mistake for Grotch for Davis to step on the podium.
And it'd be the same for De Bono for Barton to take the win. Yeah. He'd need De Bono to get caught up in, and I mean he's made it past Origin Radion. He's really only got 1 test left this lap, or maybe 2.
There.
I was gonna say there's 1 test left this lap, and that's Blanchimont. But there is a couple more. I mean he's got the next long left, and then Blanchimont is probably his next big test after that. So
in the wet, who on here is one of the hardest corners to judge?
Yeah. Because you don't really know how much. You got to be careful with the throttle input, your brakes, your turn in. It's a complete.
Normally you run right up on that curb there. Dylan stayed well away from it. Same thing there. Like, you know, in the wet, you stay away from white lines, curbs.
Brandon Grotch has had a moment just quickly in the background.
Oh no!
He's kept going though, but he is off the podium. Vella's made it past him, but importantly, Davis is now P3 on the road, Cowie.
God, I love making these calls, hey, with a lap to go, and it just changes again. Right, so well, let's keep an eye on the leader as he comes down through Blanchimont for the last time, heading up to just the chicane is what it's called at the end here, but only a couple of corners left. His first visit here for season 3, and like Vella last week, Dylan De Bono is going to bring it home with a victory in his return to SRW for Velocity Sim Racing, so great victory there. Scotty Bargent coming around, he's leading a little pack of cars a lap down. He will be stoked to put it on the podium tonight.
As he comes home in P2, Jamie Davis, P3 on the road here tonight. A good run from him.
He's a lot closer than I thought he was going to beat Jamie.
He wasn't too far off. Davison was P4, Grotch was P5. Jason Depp is going to take P1 on the road for Velocity Racing Team across the line. Just to confirm, DeBono was Velocity Sim Labs.
Sim Labs, that's what Sim Racing. I knew, halfway through me talking about it, I knew there was two of them.
Yep. Hodgkinson and Hodgkinson and Schmalenberg are currently still battling here for P2 on the road in the Pro-Am class as they come up towards the final corner. They've just come around Blanchimont. Up into the braking zone they come now. Hodgkinson looks to hold this one out as long as he does not have a rotation through the final corner. He's kept it nice and clean. He's had a consistent race. This is going to be P13 on the road for Hodgkinson, but importantly, P2 in the Pro-Am class. We then look further back to Gordon McCulloch, who comes up in behind Jack Anderson. He gets around him, in fact, actually up in the side. It's a nice little move there from Gordon. He's going to take P1 for the amateurs here tonight. A good 33 seconds ahead of Callum Rosanita, who's currently P2 in the amateur class. But the man who we have to focus on is Mr. DeBono, who's taken the win here tonight.
Is that a change? Because I had McCulloch down as a Pro-Am, not an Am.
I think me and Hutto spoke about it. He was an Am. If he's a Pro-Am, then that means that Rosanita is the winner.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what race control has got to say, because they will let the drivers know who finishes those positions.
Well, we'll see who shows up. If McCulloch shows up, we know he's an amateur. If Rosanita shows up, then we know that Rosanita's the winner. So
unless they're both listening to the broadcast.
This is true. This is very, very true. But Dylan DeBono is taking quite an impressive win here tonight, Cowie, at a very, very wet Spa-Francorchamps.
Have we got some other sleeper driver that's going to come out of the woodwork, to make his debut for the new season in round 3 and take the victory? Because, there was Vela week 1 and now DeBono week 2. That seems to be
I
the thing.
reckon we need the return of Michael Cuttajar.
With a microphone.
Yep.
But I mean, they say as a golfer, when you have some time off and you go out and have a game after you've had some time off, you tend to play better because you forget all those bad habits. I don't know if that's the case as far as sim racing goes. You really want to be driving, and continue to build up those skills. But, we know that DeBono does a bit of real world driving too, so he might have been caught up in that, unable to be here last week. But yeah, that's a great result. P1 on his return. And, I suppose all the DFR boys have fallen a little bit back in the pack. Where we had Vela, P7.
Dixon,
P16.
Dixon was P18. Who was their other driver who I don't believe was raced this season? I can't remember what his name was now. It started with S. There's only 3 of them flying the DFR flag this season. I do know that Phil has been running through a difficult time at the moment, and he did mention to me that he wanted to dedicate his win on last week at the Hungaroring to his dog Rex, I believe his name was, who unfortunately had to send to the permanent doggy farm in the sky. So thoughts are with Phil. And it's tough time to deal with that. So.
Yeah, I love my boy, and I wouldn't want him to go anywhere for a while yet. So I feel for you, Phil. I suppose animals. Anytime the house is empty, it just feels like it's completely empty. Having an animal in the house seems to be, I don't know, it makes it feel a house.
Exactly.
Like a home.
Exactly. So we'll see who we've got in the chat. We've got Rosanita in there, so McCulloch hasn't showed up, so he must be misclassed. Although Hutto sent me a message. He sent me a fuel update message. So that was nice. But I was just saying we need a highlights package of Eau Rouge at the start of quali. I don't know if I can actually go back that far because of the sessions and how they get cut off. So I don't think I can actually do that. But
when a session finishes, it's going to make it hard for you to go
yeah,
back to the replays
exactly.
and
I'd have to save the
iRacing.
replay, reopen it, check it all out. So what we will do is, though, we'll get some B-roll going. We'll drag in Mr. Rosanita for the win of the amateur class here tonight. And I will make sure to get Gordon McCulloch properly classed for next week. I'll have a chat to Hutto about that. Just double-check that it is correct. It should be, if he is supposed to be pro-am or amateur. So we'll get that double-checked, of course. But first man we need to talk to tonight is this man right here, Callum Rosanita, the winner for the pro-am class. Oh, for the amateur class. I had him classified in P2. Yeah, okay, yes, he Sharps Prime. Okay, yeah, I'll get that changed, then that's cool. That was my miscue. I think I set it up in the F1 shadow rounds between the seasons, Cowie, and Hutto probably told me, and then I probably just forgot to change it, to be honest with you, so we'll get that changed up. So it does mean that Mr. Rosanita is the winner for the amateur class. We'll drag him in for a chat. Mr. Rosanita, another season, another win for you in the amateur class, and an absolutely wet and wild Spa-Francorchamps. The only thing you were missing out there, mate, was the bubbles from the Jets. But I mean, how was that one for you? How many Beyblade spins do you think occurred on this track tonight? Not just from yourself, but other drivers.
I have no idea. There's just take the amount of corners and then times it by the laps, and that's probably
the spray, Callum. So how was the spray at the start of that race and on those restarts? Could you see anything?
No, I guess it's just flying down the straight, and all you can see is just white. It was just just made sure I lifted off real early on everything. So
I reckon there was probably about as much spray out there is as half time of a football game when your team's just playing like absolute trash, and the coach is just absolutely that is the level of spray I expect in those moments.
Definitely.
Definitely. Just pure spray at that point. But yeah, I mean,
you were talking about tiptoeing around. So talk us through Eau Rouge and radio on each lap. I mean, was it just guessing if you've got grip?
The hard part is that when you put it through the bottom's always wet. So the bottom will start the car sliding. And then if you look at the grip line that'd usually sit on the proper racing line and go up the hill, that was slippery as well. But I think after a while we worked out that if you kept the car straight through the bottom and then you were wide going up the second half of it, you'd be okay. But then obviously the drama was then you have to cross the grip line again at the top. So it was trying to figure out how much you could throw at it, knowing that you wouldn't be able to get grip for those two sections of the corner. And towards the end, it seemed to dry up a little bit and got a bit faster, but it was still very deceptive. Yeah, I think there was a few boys that were maybe a little overconfident.
I reckon, Callum, you had the secret sauce tonight by the fact that your Discord icon has a wet road on it.
Yep, must be.
Yeah, that is the secret to doing well in the rain. But no, Cowie, I mean, that was the exact thing I was going to ask you about, actually, was Eau Rouge Radio, and there was a heap of stuff that happened there. Of course, massive incidents that happened throughout this race. It's just, I mean, it's one of those corners, even in the dry, you can get absolute chaos through there. You add a bit of water, and all of a sudden, it is like a slip and slide. Blanchimont didn't look so bad tonight. A couple of drivers caught the outside curb and got spun round off the fast left. But apart from that, it actually looked pretty stable through there in the wet. Was it because you can still make it round Blanchimont without holding the direct inside line where the puddle builds up?
Yeah, as long as you kept out of the puddles and kept off the curbing, there was a fair bit of grip there. I don't know why. Maybe the water just runs off it or something. The two corners I had dramas with, and I think I worked it out towards the end why. Before the run downhill, there's the two right-handers, and I think I spun several times on those. And what it was is it didn't quite look like it on my screen from my toned down graphics settings, but I think the puddle actually comes up further to about halfway on the track. So if you stayed out really wide, it was fine. But every time I'd try and cut in, the car would just pitch and spin out to the inside, and it was just annoying. I must have spun, 5 or 6 times there, maybe more.
Well, buddy, you were able to survive and finish on the top step of the AM podium. Congratulations on your AM victory tonight. Let us know who's giving you and your team all the support out there.
Yeah, thanks to Anka for supporting me and Triple F, and thanks to my family for watching.
Very good, Cal. Well, Cal had a pretty good run tonight, didn't he? And
well, look, he said he spun 5 or 6 times, and I mean that's indicative of just how hard it was out there. And you've got our AM podium finisher who, I think even the guys up front struggled. So mate, you did well, and good points against your rivals as the competition goes on.
Awesome, thank you, thanks guys.
No worries, mate. Well, best of luck next week out at Masano, I believe we are at. Should be a good test for some of you guys out on track. Hopefully it's not as wet for that one, and hopefully you can continue the strong run up towards an amateur championship.
Fingers crossed.
All right, mate. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks. One thing we got to remember as well, Cowie, is literally half the field finished on the lead lap. So even to finish on the lead lap in this race was quite an achievement for a lot of these drivers.
I think so. Well, let's bring in our Pro-Am victor, Jason Depp. Jason, welcome to the podium for the first time, buddy. Oh, sorry, was that right?
I believe so. I believe that's his first win, if I'm correct.
Did you just drag him back out?
I dragged him in. Let's drag him back in. Mr. Depp, there he is.
Oh, so sorry.
Sorry,
I accidentally clicked back into the green room.
No worries. This is your first podium or class podium and win, isn't it? In the Super Formulas. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think probably first time finishing in top 10 as well. So pretty stoked with that. And yeah, stoked to win for the class.
How was it out there, Jace? The spray, the wet, trying to find a dry line. How many I'm dead moments did you have out there?
Oh, I mean, I spun a fair few amount of times, and yeah, the spray was intense, particularly, the peak of the rain, especially towards the back end of the track where you have that back straight all the way down to the final chicane. You can't see anything, So especially trying to navigate that fast left-hander, it's kind of just pray to survive. And at one point, I clipped the inside curb and spun it, but luckily I had a bit of a gap to the guy behind me, so managed to maintain position. But yeah, no, it was intense. It was fun, but intense.
Well, Jace, I guess one thing that then should be asked is what's more difficult, trying to traverse these cars around this track in the wet, or figuring out what you're going to say for a motorcycle review?
Oh no!
Jack told me. Jack used to race I used to race in Jack's team, and he told me about your dirty little secret. So I know.
Oh no! Oh man, I feel like it's I feel like the YouTube bit is probably easier because I go off a script most of the time. But I think either one is fairly tricky in its own respect.
Well, sometimes it is hard to figure out what you need or want to say about something, what you should say about something, but it's also hard to figure out where you want to put your car on the road, especially in weather like this, figuring out, where to avoid the puddles, where you have to take the puddles in terms of what might be in your way on track and stuff like that. So all the puzzle pieces come together to try and figure it out in a way, I guess. But how was it trying to traverse through the traffic out there tonight? Obviously, a lot of cars having moments on track, just trying to survive as best you can. What was that? How stressful was that? Just trying to avoid some of those, the oncoming traffic of they've now spun round. I've got to try and get past them without spinning around myself.
Oh yeah, I mean, pretty stressful, to be quite honest, because I haven't really raced in the rain all that much. Probably done a couple of races in general, but yeah, it was just trying to stay calm and telling myself to stay calm and not get too excited and just try and pick the opportunities. It was tricky trying to find the grip, which I'm sure everyone would probably say the same thing, but yeah, it was weird trying to have to basically drive off the racing line, like the normal racing line. But then, time to time you'll cross into the normal racing line, and that transition in the track between the wet and the dry can sort of get the car a little bit squirrely on exit. So just trying to manage that. And I think, a few minutes into the race, I think I figured out a little bit of a line, but I'm sure obviously the pro guys probably had better luck with finding the better line. So hopefully with a bit of practice more in the rain, I can, get a bit better.
Well, Jay, so we won't take up too much more of your time, mate, but congratulations on your first Pro-Am class win here in the Cooler Master Super Formula Championship, mate. Let us know who helps get you out on track. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? And hopefully this trend can continue forward going forward. And I mean, maybe we're soon going to be calling you just Jack Sparrow at this point if you become the king of the wet. I don't know how else that could kind of come about, but let us know. I'll get you out on track regardless, mate.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be Jack Sparrow yet, but thanks God, thanks family, thanks to my partner, and shout out to Velocity Race Team as well for bringing me on board. I really appreciate the support, and thank you to all the sponsors as well for putting this show on, including you boys. Thanks.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck for Misano next week. If it's wet, it may be quite a challenge. If it's dry, I think it's also going to be quite a challenge once again. So hopefully you can put all the pieces together once again and get another solid result.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Oh, Cowie, let's bring in, I believe it was Mr. Davis who was P3 this week, wasn't it?
He certainly was.
Yep, let's drag him in and have a quick little chat with him. Mr. Jamie Davis. Another podium, but this time it's not a V8 machine you've got that podium in, son. It's an open wheeler that was just like trying to survive in a bathtub out there tonight, mate. How was that for you?
Thank you, Hamish. Yeah, very, very unexpected. First I drove this track with this car combination. In practice, I was only 22nd fastest, so I was pretty happy at rain because I'd done the 24-hour around here on the weekend.
I was going to say, I know that you've been doing a bit of GT work and sort of starting to drive a bit more in the rain, but those V8 skills, mate, the throttle control needed to drive the big machine, they've got to come in handy when you're in those conditions out there tonight.
Yeah, it definitely helps a little bit, but I still had 8 or 9 half spins that dropped me outside the top 10, so it was just, thankful that could sort of come through the field a bit and, take this unexpected podium.
Was that it? Was it, like you said you had a few moments, is that just sort of just pushing, trying to get through? I mean, it did seem like, you'd find a rhythm and then suddenly something would catch you out there and there's almost nothing you can do about it, or were they more mistakes where you were pushing a little bit too much?
Well, that was just me pushing because I'd get through the field, back up to about 5th or 6th, have a gap either side of me, and then just starting to feel comfortable, and it was just pushing the boundaries. I was watching DeBono go quicker and quicker every lap, and I thought, oh, maybe it's getting drier, and nearly looping in the wall several times.
Well, Jamie, how is the transition going for you between the supercar and the Super Formula Light? Obviously, I mean, you're obviously having to deal with rain in this car, but is at least some of the things you learned for throttle control of the supercar at least helping deal with the grip limits in this car and what can happen in the rain with this car as well?
Definitely in the rain, the supercar helps with, especially out of the slow corner, the slower corners with the throttle control. Definitely helps, but in the dry, I've got a bucket load to learn. I am nowhere near the pace of the top 10, 15.
That's why I say it's almost counterintuitive, but in the wet, I mean, you'd probably love to see more wet races. Misano next week, have you looked at the forecast, or are you just playing week to week with all the racing you're doing?
Next week's up in the air. I had a pretty big mistake on my half last night, and it's probably going to net me a race ban. I thought the penalty was a bit harsh, but I'll get the boys to look at it. But if I could race, I'll have a look, and if I can't, I'll sit back with a beer and enjoy.
Oh, these things happen. Sure, it was a pretty chaotic race last night, buddy, but, you know, these things happen.
Yeah, my fault.
Look, and look, I was talking in the chat with the boys, not to take it away from any of the Superlight guys tonight, but you know the Tuesday night, the community's great. I mean, with everything that happened last night, it was just everyone apologising and saying sorry, no one being really angry. So I'm sure that we're seeing the same in the F3 channels here with the boys, and I know we've dealt with different class and speeds and that, but I mean, pretty good community, man, in the end. So I'm sure the boys will be looking forward to getting back on track.
Oh, definitely. Pretty much, yeah. Everybody in the SRW community, it's all pretty good. I haven't really seen much animosity between many people. And if it does happen, it's just race car drivers taking the helmets off, being heated after a day. Everyone's good.
Well, mate, you have jumped onto the podium in the Super Lights for the first time, so you better let everyone out there know who's giving you all the support, and congratulations on your P3 tonight.
Thank you very much, Cowie. I'd like to thank the sponsors, Warren & Brown Tools, Shannon's, Grim Industries, NeuroPower, DSL Railway Services. Thank you for all the supporters that tune into the stream every race. Everyone with race control working in there. Couldn't do it without them. Use boys in the commentary box as well. Just everybody. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, Jamie, best of luck for round 3 next week out at Misano. Hopefully you can continue this good run of form into that one, or if you unfortunately miss out on that race, hopefully you have a good run in your next opportunity of being able to drive these cars, whenever that may be.
Definitely, I'll be back out there, but just don't know if I'm going to have a holiday or not. But it is what it is, and life goes on.
Oh, mate, it's good to hear that nonetheless, mate. Well, best of luck tomorrow night if you are racing in the 8.6s as well. Otherwise, best of luck in your next Supercars race in SRW as well.
Thank you very much, Hamish. Have a good one, fellas.
Thanks, mate. All right, we'll drag in Mr. Scotty Barton. Mr. Scotty Barton back into formerly the F3s, now the Super Formula Championship, and back up on the podium as well for Valve Esports / Everything Simulator Racing. Mate, how does it feel to get that podium finish once again?
Oh, it's been good, man. Long time waiting. I was hoping for the rain, been practicing the rain, so it was good to see the rain.
Well, it's Spa, my friend. You had to have been expecting it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, we had it for the 24 hours, so why not now? So it's around the same time, isn't it? So.
Well, we're just talking to Jamie Davis, and he was saying that he felt that the 24-hour really gave him good help tonight. Did you find the same thing yourself, like those same lines you had to run in the wet 24 you were using here?
Some
of
them, yeah, because the open wheel, we've got a different line for some areas, and with a few of the corners we could take a little bit wider and harder, so slightly, but it did help, yeah.
Well, I mean, how's your time been away from the series, Scotty? Obviously, you made the return in between the seasons, then back full-time now into Season 3. How was it away from the series? But then also, how was it coming back, but coming back into almost a completely different car to what you had last raced here in SRW for the Open Wheeler Championship here on Wednesday nights?
Oh, I just had a bit of time off just to rebuild the team again. We've had a few guys come and go, and just needed a bit of time behind and get everything sorted. So we're all rolling now. We've got everything simulated as a major sponsor, which is awesome. So yeah, back into it full flog and see how we go.
So you practiced in the wet. Were you prepared for the spray, or were you far enough up the front for most of that race that it was all behind you?
Oh, I was prepared for the spray. Been practicing the wet, get the boys out in front, get used to it. So yeah, you got to practice it. Otherwise, you're just going to struggle.
Any moments where you thought you were going to die out there?
Yeah, lap 1 when I did the Max Verstappen, turn around and check to see what the cars were doing, and I thought it was all over from there.
Oh, mate, we're glad that you stuck it out with Matt. We are also glad that you managed to push on and get a positive position for yourself in this race. Let us know who helps get you and everything simulator racing out on track. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? For myself and Cowie, congratulations on your return to the podium here in the Cooler Masters Super Formula Championship.
All right, thanks, boys. I've got all the boys at Val for sticking by and helping with practice. I've got to give a shout out to Tom. He just had a baby, or his missus had one a couple of days ago, so he's a new-time dad, so he needs to... I was actually waiting for him to say he wasn't coming, because he did message and say he was going to struggle to make it, because, if the kid gets down, he can get up and race, but yeah, he turned up, did it. RSW Graphics for our paints, awesome work. And yeah, Shannon from SR... everything simulated, mate, does awesome job. I've got a new sim I've got to put together in the next couple of weeks. Got a new track racer, so I ordered that last Friday and it was here today. So, man, fast turnaround. Love it.
Well, very good to hear, mate. Best of luck for Masano next week. Hopefully you can continue to put all the pieces together and get these positive results. We'll see if it's wet again. We'll have to wait and see. I think if it's wet next week, it's still going to be a bit of chaos happening. Of course, Masano, we haven't had it yet on the calendar here in the Super Formula Championship, so it'll be a good challenge for these drivers. But as I said, hopefully you can continue this run of form and try and get a couple more podiums this season, and maybe you can finally crack that championship that you've been waiting so long to obtain.
Oh, I'll try, man. I've got Damasano with the FRG, so I've hopefully still got it there. But got to give a shout out to you boys for doing all the commentary, and the Sinkovich boys for putting all this series together as well. So thanks, boys.
Very good, mate. Well, we'll chat to you very, very soon, I'm sure, and hopefully soon we'll be next week out at Masano.
Mate, hoping. Thanks, boys.
Very good, mate. Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, we'll drag in Mr. De Bono, of course, our winner here tonight. Mr. Dylan De Bono, another series, another season and another win for yourself here in the Super Formula Championship in a very wet affair out at Spa. What a turnaround you've had of form in the wet. Remember, you struggled previously in the wet in these cars. Have you put some time in, a bit of practice to get a bit more comfortable out there, or is it maybe 24 hours in the rain at Spa helped you get a bit comfortable over the weekend?
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, like I've enjoyed racing these cars in the rain a lot, That first race I struggled a little bit. I think it was at
Fuji?
one of the Fuji races. Struggled a little bit there, and I put in the time middle of that season, and just put in the effort, put in the time, the laps, and now I'm loving it. Just driving the car on the edge every lap. It's so much fun.
That's what I was going to say to you. I was going to ask you, Dylan. So were you holding back at any point? Did you think, I'll take it easy, look after the victory? Because I know you, and I know you're sort of maybe a little bit like Phil. One of those guys is always pushing for the perfect lap, and you'll keep pushing a little bit harder. Did you have to rein yourself in tonight?
Yeah, like obviously when I was out just before that first safety car, I was pushing pretty hard to try and build a gap, and I got the gap. It was at about 11-12 seconds, and then my plan was to build that gap so I could pit for tyres, because I honestly didn't know how much the tyres would wear, and I didn't want to be stuck at the end of the race with worn tyres. So I was pushing pretty hard there, and then got stuck behind the lap marker on our safety car lap, and I lost all my caps. So I kept the same tyres on, and then after that safety car, I pushed again hard, got a pretty good restart, and then just made a mistake at the top of the hill and spun out and lost the lead. So I was it wasn't ideal, and slowly just started catching back up to Scotty and passed him, and then I pushed hard again to get a safe, like a safe gap, and once I got a pretty reasonable 6-second gap, I sort of just pulled it back in. But then sometimes I found, it actually happened at middle of last season. I tried to slow it down a little bit, and I was making more mistakes, so I had that in the back of my head and just wanted to finish on strong.
Well, that's like that. I was going to say, Kay, that's one thing that we've obviously noticed on reflection with you previously is you might have a big lead some races, and then all of a sudden you make a mistake. Do you find those mistakes get made when you do actually pull back off how hard you're pushing, or is it sometimes coming from just continuing to push so hard for so long? I recall Laguna Seca with that big 10-second lead, and then all of a sudden you ended up at the wall at the bottom of the hill. Are those sort of moments, are they kind of from pushing too hard for too long, or is it in those moments when you do actually decide you're going to pull it back a little bit and then you do start making those mistakes?
Yeah, I think, like, especially with the way I found it, if you pull it back a little bit, you're driving slower, and I found with these guys, the faster you drive to the corner, the more grip it's got. And just everything's off when you drive slow, and then your turning point's a little bit later. And yeah, that sort of stuff. So like you said, the Laguna Seca race, yeah, that was one. The Indianapolis race, that was another one where I just had a big gap, and I thought I'd pull it in a little bit, and yeah, just made mistakes. And at the end of the day, that probably cost the championship last year.
But the rain brings in its own sort of element as well, and we noted that you were staying away from the curbs, you were staying away from the lines and the puddles, the 3 rules of the wet.
Yeah, and that's probably a little bit of real life experience as well. You learn that pretty early on in your racing in real life. Stay off the white lines. Gentle throttle position, progression, and just keeping the car smooth, because if you wind more lock into it, you can end up with oversteer on the exit. So I think just being smooth, little inputs, and yeah, that's what I've been focusing on this past off season and into this season.
Well, mate, hopefully all of the previous self-reflection and the work you've put in the off-season is going to pay off for you all season long. I mean, you've had a hot start now this week, getting the win. And I think your first round this season, I don't think you raced last week, did you, at Hungaroring?
Yeah, no, that was my drop round, and because of Origin, and yeah, just thought I would use my drop round there, and hopefully it works out.
We didn't actually work out. So are we upset or elated at the Origin?
Yeah, no, New South Wales won, so that's good.
We know Cowie was going to be elated by that result. So, being a Blues fan who lives in Queensland, hey Cowie?
Oh, mate, I love being in the Lions den sometimes. It's very frequent that we get to gloat. So when we can, we will.
Oh well, hopefully this is going to continue a good run of form for you, Dylan, and you can finally break past being forever the bridesmaid and finally get that championship win this season. But there are a lot of contenders out there who may hope to take that away from you this season, mate. But let us know who helps get you, Velocity Sim Labs, out on track. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well, mate? And for myself and Cowie, big congratulations on another race win for you here in the Cooler Master Super Formula Championship.
Yeah, just like you said, big thanks to Velocity Sim Lab. We've really stepped it up this season. Obviously the boys didn't have the result they were looking for tonight, but we'll press on during the week and put in some more effort. Hockey Power Tools, here to race YouTube. Thanks to SRW for putting the league on. You guys are streaming all the races, and yeah, don't forget to check out Velocity Sim Lab on Facebook and give it a like.
Very good, mate. Well, best of luck for Masano next week. We'll see if you're able to back this win up with another one, or possibly even another podium as well. And if we don't get a chance to speak to you for whatever reason, best of luck for the rest of the season ahead.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, Cowie, another week, another race done and dusted here for the Cooler Master Super Formula Championship. And we can't even really say that the championship battle is coming into its own structure, because we still can't pick who could win this one.
Mate, we got the card shuffle of all card shuffles. We got the weather at Spa. We expected it. We got it, and it certainly shuffled the pack. So we saw the DFR boys reign supreme week 1, and we've seen them fall back down the settings this week with the weather. So I mean, it's spicy. Gotta love it when things get changed up early on in a season, and things peter out sometimes, but with events like that and the weather, I mean, there's play the Joker card, mate. That's the way it works in the weather, isn't it?
Exactly right, mate. Exactly right. Well, we'll see what the weather gods are going to draw up for us next week out at Misano, and if they decide to put a rain cloud over our racing once again. I do apologise. Big thank you, though, goes out to all of our series sponsors, including our title sponsors, Warner Brown Tools, Cooler Master, and Shannon's Insurance, as well as our other sponsors, NeuroPower, DSL Railway Services, Shunt Scenery, and Grim Industries, the home of the V8 Coffee Table, which you can find on Top Gear Australia on Prime Video. Big thank you to everyone out there who has been watching with us here tonight and throughout the start of this season. But if you haven't already, please hit the like button, the subscribe, and the bell icon so you are notified anytime we go live here on SRWtv or whenever we upload a video on the SRWtv channel as well. We've got a big week of racing still to come. Round 2 tomorrow night of the Shannon's Insurance GR86 Nationals out at Navarra is going to be a massive showcase for the Tin Top Cup over there. We'll see how those drivers contest with that circuit. Friday, we finally have round 1 of the Legends World Challenge out at Belle Isle, as well as round 1 of the Warner Brown Tools GTD Series back here at Spa-Francorchamps, as we had to postpone it after last Friday. And then Sunday night, we are back in Italy for Monza once again with the V8 Supercars Championship brought to you by Warner Brown Tools. We got a bit of a preview last night of how much chaos there could be at that track. And with those faster pro drivers out there, Cowie, it could be even more chaotic than what it already has been at Monza this week.
Oh, it's a killer track at a V8, mate, and
it
not
is.
necessarily one of my best, but I was feeling okay, and then everything just happened on lap 1. So
That's it.
I expect more of the same on Sunday. The boys will be pushing hard, and yeah, look, it's great fun. And I think one of the big advantages of racing Tuesday night is you've got some experience for Sunday night, so you should have a little bit more pace. Well, I don't know if that'll be the case for me, but it was good fun, man, and I've been looking forward to it. Same as Wednesday nights with you. I mean, tonight's racing, Spa in the rain, 44 cars. I mean, they broke your computer again, Hamish. So
We fixed it
kudos to all the
eventually, though,
drivers
with
out there.
the graphics slider. We eventually fixed it. So, but we'll see what these beautiful little open wheelers have for us next week when we head out to Misano for round 3. It's going to be one hell of an affair that you do not want to miss. But tomorrow night it'll be JP and Sinker back in the booth for the 8.6s, as we mentioned. But until then, be sure to stay safe, drive hard, and until next time, ladies and gentlemen, bye for now.
This is amazing. I was clash heads again. This is like Chaz Mostert and Cam Waters. Almost the same situation. Better contact going down the hill. Sam Noble wants to snip on Dave Coleman now. Sam Noble bottle right now because tell you what, Reece Tanak